All right. Good Sunday morning, everybody. JC here. It is about 6:30 in the morning. Just walking down the streets of Louisville, Kentucky in a area town called the Highlands. It's really close to where our Airbnb is. I really like this area. Let's call it eclectic. It reminds me of like in Houston, the Montrose section of town, or in Dallas, if I remember right. Hey, how are you? Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of the Montrose section of Houston, or in Dallas. I think they call it the Deep Ellum part. So it's really nice. It's you can tell, at least this is my presumption. I could be completely wrong, but usually pretty right about these things. But it's definitely the original downtown of Louisville. And so, this town goes back a long ways. And you can tell all of the buildings here, I'm pan around here. I don't know, it's kind of hard to see, but you can tell they're all that typical late 1800s, early 1900s construction, which is really, really sturdy brick. All the buildings are only 1 to 2 stories. So a lot of very box-like 2-story buildings. The foundations are just these immense granite blocks that you can tell were probably, hand-picked out of a quarry somewhere nearby in Kentucky or southern Ohio or western Pennsylvania and hauled out here in like 1908 or something. But yeah, it's just, so you can tell this used to be like the city center, and probably was that way all the way through the 60s. Probably became, you can tell, you look at these little shops here, now it's a Halloween store, but back in the day, that was probably where you came to get your Singer sewing machine, or your newfangled vacuum cleaner. So kind of that old school city center where you would have, where you'd go for everything. Not just to go get a bite to eat at the diner or a cup of coffee, but then you'd stop off and, get your groceries at one store, and then two doors down, go look at the vacuum cleaners, and then 2 doors down from that, go look at home appliances, and 2 doors down from that, go look at tools and whatnot. So that was probably that way all the way through the 60s. And as what happened in a lot of towns, and especially towns in this area of the country, what I'll call the Midwest and the Mid-South. This was the industrial engine of our country, right? You think about it, I was telling my wife the other day, this is basically the industrial triangle of the country between Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. So, they mine the coal here in Kentucky and the western part of West Virginia, and then transport that coal up into western PA, western Pennsylvania, and use that to create steel, and then ship that steel up the Ohio River into the Ohio Valley, up into northern Ohio and Michigan, and build things with it. Cars, heavy equipment, basically everything used to fuel the Industrial Revolution, as it were, in the United States. Expansion of the U.S. All of it came out of here. Kentucky, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan. My guess is this was just thriving in the 50s and 60s. And then my next presumption is that by the time you got to the 70s and 80s, probably had a pretty significant downturn. And there's probably a lot of inputs to that, a lot of reasons why. Probably hit on some hard times. And then what happened is in the late 90s, early 2000s, A bunch of folks got together and said, hey, these buildings are still great. This is a historic area of our town. Let's try to revitalize it. And so over the next 20 years, a lot of these little old town centers have been revitalized. And but instead of them being, greasy spoons, a place to get a 25-cent cup of coffee, or a place to go get your Singer sewing machine or your Stanley tools, now it's a place to go get a $10 boba or a $20 panini. Still a heck of a lot better than it probably was 30 years ago. And I do notice that on a lot of these buildings, the buildings look like they've been constructed in the early 1900s, but the businesses in them started in the late 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is that there's a very, very strong LGBTQ plus community embedded within the Highlands here. And that does not surprise me at all. One of the great things about that community is a lot of these cities, old city centers and old downtown areas in these Midwest and Mid-South sections of the country that were just given up on in the 80s, probably during the crack epidemic and even into the 90s. It's been the LGBTQ plus community that will take the risk. And maybe that's because they didn't have any other place to go, right? So when your back's up against the wall, you're willing to take risks that other communities aren't. And so it's really, really clear that they are the backbone of this neighborhood area here. And yeah, what they've done to revitalize this part of town is just tremendous. Obviously, a lot of other folks have dovetailed on that and come in, but it is absolutely clear. It's clear who the first group that was in here. And it's always funny that the folks that take the biggest risk are usually the ones that have their backs against the wall. Probably say that a lot about a lot of things that have been turned around for the better. So yeah, just a really, really nice neighborhood. Like I said, very eclectic, really cool shops. So yeah, happy we got an Airbnb down around this area. And the people are just so nice. That's what I guess here in Louisville, you're in Kentucky, which is, I guess you call it the South, right? We call it the Mid-South, that Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Missouri area. Everybody I talk to sure as hell sounds like me. Whatever you want to call it. They sound a lot like me. Really, really, really nice people. But they're at that kind of that crossroads, right? Because you're also in that Ohio Valley area of Western PA, Southern Ohio, Indiana, Lower Michigan. It's like the industrial belt of the country. It's where it all began for our country, as far as the country that we enjoy today. So, yeah, just a couple of observations from me on Louisville, Kentucky. All right, just turned around, headed back to my Airbnb. Looked at my Apple Watch. I was actually a mile and a half in. That's what happens when you get jaw jacking. I didn't realize I'd walked a mile and a half in the neighborhood. So I'm gonna do a 3-mile walk here in the morning. Just jaw jacking on my iPhone. Looking like a Kentucky Fried Idiot to anybody that might already be up looking out their window. They're like, what's this dude doing with his iPhone? So this area of Kentucky, a lot of great history too. I mentioned yesterday that Abraham Lincoln was born and raised and spent his childhood about 50 or so miles south of here, and then obviously moved to Illinois when he was an adult during his professional life. But this is where he was born and raised, is in this Kentucky Valley, and deep into Kentucky, like basically smack dab in the middle of it. So yeah, find some time here once we fully ascertain that my brother-in-law is stable and getting ready to start physical therapy. Once we have that, then I'm gonna start spending a little more time in other parts of the state on just little short half-day trips and stuff like that. But other thing about Louisville is one of the greatest sports figures of all time came out of here. Formerly known as Cassius Clay. We all know him as Muhammad Ali. He was born and raised here in Louisville. So a couple of notable figures from this area of the country. I would argue that Abraham Lincoln and Muhammad Ali are probably two of the most important figures in American history. So that's pretty cool. And that's all right here. So yeah, I think there's like a museum and then the childhood home of Muhammad Ali they've got set up. So I may go check that out as well. So some of y'all are probably like, JC, what the hell are you doing walking around at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday in Louisville, Kentucky? I'll tell you, I love the little quaint Airbnb we have. The house we're staying in was probably built sometime in the 40s or 50s. A couple of quick observations. Man, the craftsmanship, wow. You can just tell they really put their heart and soul into it. So everything about the house is just sturdy as a rock. I mean, literally sturdy as a rock. Just really great craftsmanship. The wood floors, just, you can tell it's that old school, damn near original wood floor that can't even find that stuff anymore. But I say all that to say that, you know, I'm kind of an early riser. When you walk around in this house, my wife can hear me in the bedroom walking around in the living room. I'm about 215 pounds, so I make quite an impression on those wood floors. Yeah, my wife kicked me out of the house. Said, you're gonna walk around, go walk outside. Don't walk around these floors. So I don't know how they did it back then. I mean, you know, when you walk on these wood floors, I mean, you hear it all over the place. If you were an early riser back in the day and you're just waking everybody up in the house, probably a social aspect to that too. Probably back in the 40s and 50s, most dudes didn't give a crap about what anybody else in the house thought of them walking around in their steel-toe boots in their house. Yeah, I do not share that attribute with my brethren from the 40s and 50s. If I piss my wife off, there's hell to pay. So, so a little bit of change there in the last 80 years in the social dynamics, but I'm fine with that. Kind of nice to get out here and walk around, get this nice 45-degree weather in your nostrils and your lungs. It's good. It's solid. Well, all right. Well, I'm getting pretty close to the end of my walk here. I can see the street just a few more blocks up ahead to where my Airbnb is. So yeah, it's gonna be a good day. We're gonna go back to the hospital once my wife wakes up and gets ready for the day. We will head on over to the hospital and check in on my brother-in-law and see how he's doing, spend a little time with him. Hopefully not as groggy as yesterday, but at the same time, hopefully he's not in any pain either. So yeah, go check on him and then just see where to go from there. I mean, really a lot of the stuff that I was talking about before that I want to go and check out, the timing of that's really going to be dependent on how my brother-in-law is doing. Because if, you know, he's not stable yet, obviously I want to stick around here and I want to be available as quickly. You know, we're only about a 5-minute drive from the hospital from here. So good morning, how are you? I'm doing great. What's that? Working on waking up. Well, that's what I'm doing. That's why I stick this iPhone in my face. Very nice meeting you, ma'am. You have a good day. So yeah, just check on him and yeah, see where we go from there. So appreciate it. Just wanted to check in on Sunday morning, say good morning to everybody. Hope y'all have a fantastic Sunday. If you're an NFL fan, I hope your team does well and wins. Obviously half of you, that's not going to happen for. 100% that's not going to happen for me because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. And yeah, that's enough said there. I don't even want to talk about the Cowboys right now. But yeah, don't put me in a bad. I'm in such a good mood. I'm not bringing that up. So yeah, hope everybody has a fantastic Sunday, and I will continue to check in with y'all. Who knows? Maybe these morning and afternoon and evening vlogs, shit, I'll make these things 45 minutes and force them into your feed. No, just kidding. Hope everybody has a great Sunday. Talk to y'all later. Bye.